The last straw cue soft piano music, something like the soundtrack to a rainy Sunday morning. Slow and full of memory. In a modest apartment just 2 blocks from where the palm trees leaned like gossiping old ladies, Martha Jensen sat alone at her kitchen table. It was 8:32 a.m. She knew that not because of a clock, but because her tea had cooled just enough to sting her lips, not scald them. Martha was 82. She didn't look it. Not quite. She had a neat crown of silver hair always pinned just so, a button-up sweater she wore even in June, and the sort of kind, weathered face that told you she probably baked a mean apple crumble. She had lost her husband Harold 5 winters ago, and in that time she had lost a little more than just him. Her hearing had grown worse. Her confidence too. Even her favorite bank had changed into something she barely recognized. It was still called Wilshire First Federal, but the faces were different. The smiles had vanished, replaced by perfunctory nods and laminated signage with tiny fonts. The teller booths now had plastic shields. The counters were so tall they made Martha feel 4 feet tall even when she stood up straight. But today, she had no choice. That morning, an envelope arrived, thin, white, and official. The kind that gave her a little lurch in the chest. Inside was a letter, all sharp wording and sterile formatting. Notice of suspension. Your Social Security-linked pension payments have been paused due to unverified account activity. In-person verification required immediately. Failure to respond within 15 business days may result in permanent closure. No phone number. No detailed instructions. Just a quiet clinical threat disguised as procedure. Martha read the letter twice, her mouth slightly open. Her hands trembled. What did this mean? Was it a mistake? She'd been receiving that pension since Harold passed. Without it, she wouldn't make rent. She carefully tucked the letter into her purse and did what she always did when the world got too loud. She talked to Harold. His picture sat on the mantel in the living room, next to a plastic rose he once gave her in a joke. The kind of joke only a man truly in love could make. Harold, she whispered, I think I'm going to need your help today. Downtown LA was no place for nerves. By 10:15, the sidewalk outside the Wilshire branch was crowded. Young people zipped past with iced coffees. Someone shouted at a rideshare driver in a language Martha couldn't place. She clutched her purse a little tighter. Inside, the bank was just as cold as she remembered. It smelled faintly of printer ink and desperation. The line was long. The wait was longer. As minutes turned to nearly an hour, Martha stood patiently, her orthopedic shoes digging into the floor. Her back ached, but she didn't complain. When her turn came, she stepped forward with quiet resolve. Next, barked a voice from behind the plexiglass. The teller, a woman maybe in her mid-20s, had a perfect winged eyeliner and an expression that could curdle milk. Martha gave a small smile. Good morning, dear. Account number? Oh yes, let me just... She fumbled through her bag, pulling out a notepad filled with careful, tiny handwriting. I wrote it down. I hope that's all right. The teller didn't respond. Just stared. Martha placed her ID on the counter and began to explain the letter she received. I got this notice, and I'm not quite sure what. Ma'am, the teller interrupted. Do you have your Social Security number? I do. I have it written right. Oh dear, I just need a moment. She flipped through her notepad again, her fingers trembling a little more now. Her palms were clammy. She could feel her cheeks burning. Behind her, someone muttered, Come on, lady. A little laughter followed. Quiet, cruel. Martha froze. She was suddenly 12 again, back in the schoolyard, trying to find the right words. The same lump rose in her throat. The teller sighed loudly and tapped her nails on the desk. Ma'am, we can't proceed if you're not prepared. I am, Martha said, her voice cracking. I just These numbers are hard to see sometimes. And then, something shifted in the air. A quiet rustle behind her, like a page turning. "Hey," came a voice, soft but firm. A voice like calm water cutting through the noise, I think. "She's doing just fine." The room paused. Even the gum-chewing security guard looked up. Martha turned slightly to see the man behind her. He wore a baseball cap, sunglasses, a worn hoodie. He looked like a regular guy. Unshaven, maybe in his 50s. Kind eyes. Familiar somehow. The teller blinked. Her tone changed slightly, not out of politeness, but confusion. "I'm sorry, sir. This doesn't concern you." "It does," he said, stepping forward just a little. "Because I've been standing here for 20 minutes watching this woman be treated like she's an inconvenience. She's not. She's a customer. Just like anyone else here, and she deserves respect." Martha stared. The voice was unmistakable now. The man removed his sunglasses and looked the teller directly in the eyes. It was Keanu Reeves. "You're Keanu Reeves," someone whispered behind them. "Maybe," he said, not taking his eyes off the teller. "Right now, I'm just someone reminding you how to treat people." The teller's face flushed. She tried to reset her posture, glancing sideways for backup. The manager, Mr. Alan Dorsey, a man who looked like he ironed his emotions each morning along with his shirts, was already halfway out of his glass office, drawn out by the silence and whispers like a moth to moral fire. "Theatrics begin, but not from Keanu. Is there a problem here?" The manager asked, stepping between Keanu and the teller. Keanu gave a small nod. "Not a problem. Just a woman trying to get help and not being treated with the dignity she deserves. That's all." Alan Dorsey looked from Keanu to Martha, who was now quietly trying to shrink into her purse. Keanu turned to her, gently placed a hand over hers on the counter. "You okay?" he asked, his voice so low it might have been mistaken for a prayer. She nodded, eyes wide, still processing the unreality of it all. Alan cleared his throat, suddenly all silken professionalism. "I apologize, Ms. Jensen. We'd be happy to assist you personally. This way, please." To the manager's office, a soft escape. Martha was ushered gently into Alan's glass-walled office. Keanu, casually and without asking, walked in behind her. The bank staff didn't even try to stop him. The same people who had ignored Martha's presence minutes ago now watched the room as if it were the Super Bowl. Inside, Alan offered Martha a seat and turned to Keanu like a man attempting to pet a tiger while pretending it was a house cat. "Mr. Reeves, we're honored to have you here. Truly. If there's anything I'm just here with my friend," Keanu said, gesturing toward Martha. "She got a letter. Her pension's been cut off. Let's fix that." Martha blinked. "Friend?" The manager sat down and started typing furiously. "Yes, of course. Just give me one moment. Real problems, real talk." Keanu leaned in, closer to Martha, his voice warm and casual. "You get this kind of letter a lot?" "No," she whispered, her hand still trembling slightly. "Never. I thought I did something wrong." "You didn't," he said firmly. "You just got caught in a system that forgot how to be human." Martha swallowed a lump in her throat. For years, she'd been invisible. Now, a man who was beloved across the globe, Neo himself, was sitting in a glass fishbowl of a bank office, defending her honor like she was royalty. Outside, people began filming. It wasn't loud or obvious. Just quiet camera lifts, discreet flashes. The internet was about to explode, but inside this room, things stayed intimate, sacred even. Truths revealed. Alan's face changes. As the manager typed, his expression shifted slightly. "Ah, I see the issue here," he said, tapping the screen. "It's a system error. When Social Security did its quarterly update, it mismatched your verification record due to a typo in your birth date. That triggered an automated freeze. A typo? Martha asked. Alan nodded. Someone entered 1943 instead of 1942, just one digit off. Keanu let out a low breath, his jaw tightening, but not in anger, in restrained frustration. And that was enough to cut off her only source of income? It's automated, Alan said apologetically. The system doesn't always flag it. For review? Most people call in. She got a letter, Keanu interrupted. No phone number, no callback request. Just, come fix this in person. Alan had the decency to look ashamed. You're right. Keanu being Keanu, when the fix was confirmed and Martha's payment restored, Keanu turned to her and smiled that small, crooked smile that could melt glaciers. You hungry? Pardon? There's a little cafe next door, he said. Has amazing scones. Let me take you for a coffee. Martha blinked. Are you sure? Absolutely, he said, standing and offering her his arm. Scene shift. The cafe next door. They sat at a tiny table near the window, the afternoon sun spilling in like golden syrup. Martha had a chamomile tea, she always did, and a raspberry scone. Keanu had black coffee and a sandwich he barely touched. They talked. And what a talk it was. Martha told him about Harold, how they met at a drive-in in 1963, how he proposed with a hot dog in one hand and a ring in the other. About their dog, Ladybug. About the daughter they lost at birth and how they never tried again, but instead spent their years holding each other tighter than ever. Keanu listened like no one had ever listened before. Keanu opens up, quietly, briefly, powerfully. He spoke too, eventually, about his own losses, his daughter, Jennifer Syme, his sister's battle with leukemia, the long years of loneliness despite the fame. And then, almost as if it hurt to say, he looked Martha in the eyes and said, you know, sometimes the people who've suffered the most are the ones who still manage to give others hope. Martha reached across the table and patted his hand. And sometimes they wear hoodies and save little old ladies in banks. The world starts watching. By the time they left the cafe, someone had posted the moment from the bank on Twitter. Then Instagram. Then everywhere. Keanu Cares started trending before Martha even got home. News headline transcript style. CNN. Keanu Reeves defends elderly woman in bank. Acts of kindness go viral. Good morning, America. Martha and Keanu. A surprise friendship changing the internet. TikTok. Can we talk about what just happened at Wilshire Federal Bank? Hashtag Keanu Cares. That evening, Martha's apartment. When Martha got home, her answering machine had 9 messages. One from her neighbor, crying and saying how proud she was. One from a local news reporter, and one from a woman she hadn't spoken to in 20 years. She sat down on the couch, scone crumbs still clinging to her coat, and smiled for the first time in what felt like months. And just like that, a moment of humiliation turned into a spark of connection. A forgotten widow became a symbol of grace. And a movie star reminded the world what a real hero looks like, not in a cape, but in a hoodie, holding the hand of a woman who had simply asked for help. Martha Jensen sat on her couch, wrapped in a quilt Harold's mother had crocheted back. In 1972, her apartment was quiet in that specific way places get when something important has just happened. It wasn't just the lack of noise. It was the fullness of silence, like the air itself was waiting for something. Her tea had gone cold again. But she didn't care. She was staring at the glowing screen of her ancient desktop computer. The kind with a humming fan that sounded like a distant lawnmower. On the screen was a video. Her video. Well, not hers, but she was in it. Cut to the viral clip, shot from a phone. A shaky iPhone video from the bank. Keanu standing beside her. That firm but gentle voice. She's a customer. Just like anyone else here, and she deserves respect. There was a collective gasp when he removed his sunglasses. Someone whispered, "That's Keanu Reeves." The moment had been filmed by a woman 2 places behind in Lina High School. Math teacher named Lila Chun, who uploaded it to Instagram with the caption, "Keanu Reeves just offended an elderly woman at my bank. My heart is full. Hashtag Keanu cares, hashtag be like Keanu." Martha's thought voiceover, narrator-style internal monologue. "I didn't mean to go viral," she thought aloud. "I just wanted to keep my home." By 11 p.m., the video had been viewed 1.4 million times. By 3 a.m., it was trending on X, Facebook, TikTok, Reddit, even LinkedIn, where someone said, "Keanu should give HR training on basic human decency." Scene, next morning. Newsroom montage, social media mayhem. Narrator. And just like that, a single moment cracked open the digital floodgates. Fast cuts. CNN newsroom Good Morning America producers with headsets yelling, "Get me the old lady." YouTubers making reaction videos like, "Keanu Reeves is actually the nicest man alive, proof." Podcasters with titles like Ego, Empathy, and The Actor Who Gets It. In a single sunrise, Martha Jensen became the grandma of the internet. Interview offers begin. Martha's landline rang off the hook. Local news, daytime talk shows, even a foreign reporter with a charming British accent offering to fly her to London for an appearance. Her answer, "No, thank you, dear. I have to water the plants." Scene, Keanu's apartment, somewhere in the hills. Back at his quiet home in the hills, Keanu sat at his kitchen table, drinking black coffee, a paperback novel folded beside his bowl of oats. His phone buzzed nonstop. He ignored most of it. He never cared for attention. But something about this was different. He tapped on one video link and watched it just once. He didn't smile. He didn't sigh. He just whispered, "Good, they noticed her." Scene, the bank's corporate boardroom, PR crisis time. Cut to a sterile office tower downtown. Board members, legal advisors, and one overly caffeinated intern were gathered for an emergency PR strategy meeting. Someone said, "We need to get ahead of this before we're painted as villains in every headline." The VP of Communications, who once tweeted "Empathy is our brand," nodded furiously. By noon, Wilshire First Federal had issued a public apology on Twitter, Facebook, and even TikTok via an employee with a ring light. Statement: "We deeply regret the recent experience of Ms. Martha Jensen. We are reviewing our customer service policies and committing to immediate training to ensure dignity and care for all our clients, especially our senior citizens." Public response. The internet's response? Mixed. Some applauded. Others roasted them like a Thanksgiving turkey. Did you regret it before or after Keanu Reeves showed up? Training? How about hiring decent people with souls? Let Martha run the bank. I'd trust her with my mortgage and my dog. Scene, the Martha effect. Begins, then came something even more unexpected. People, strangers, neighbors, former classmates began reaching out to elderly folks in their lives. Hashtag the Martha effect began trending. It wasn't a challenge. It was a calling. Montage. Global impact. In Minnesota, a teenage boy helped his grandma set up a Zoom call and posted it online. "We had lunch over video. Thanks, Martha." In Brazil, a young woman started a campaign called Adopt a Grandma to bring companionship to senior citizens. A 6th grade classroom in Portland wrote handwritten letters to retirement homes. Each one signed, "Inspired by Martha and Mr. Reeves." Scene. Letters begin arriving at Martha's apartment. By the end of the week, Martha had received over 800 letters. Real ones, ink, envelopes, postage. She opened them carefully with her old silver letter opener. Dear Ms. Jensen, I saw what happened at the bank. My Nana went through the same thing. Thank you for not staying quiet. I showed the video to my kids. We had a real talk about kindness. You made me miss my grandma. I'm calling her today. Thank you. Martha cried happy tears. The kind she hadn't felt since Harold's last birthday. Scene. A call from Keanu, then came the call. Her phone rang. Just once. Hello? Hey, Martha. It's Keanu. Oh. Hello, dear. I just wanted to say thank you for trusting me that day and for reminding the world that small things matter. She paused, touched. Well, you made me feel seen. That's no small thing either. Scene. An unexpected visit. Keanu returns. 3 days later, a knock on her door. There he stood, hoodie, cap, and a box of scones. He'd remembered. They talked for an hour. No cameras, no reporters. Just two souls who understood grief, resilience, and chamomile tea. The cafe was called Clementine's, the kind of place with cracked leather chairs, mismatched mugs, and a chalkboard menu that changed daily. The smell of cinnamon rolls and strong coffee lingered in the air like a welcome mat made of carbs. Keanu arrived first. He came in quietly, as usual. Hoodie, jeans, sunglasses. The kind of incognito outfit that made him look more like someone late for guitar lessons than a global celebrity. He ordered 2 chamomile teas and a raspberry scone. Then, he waited. No entourage. No manager. Just him and a table by the window, sunlight painting lines on the wood. Martha arrives, dignified as ever, at exactly 9:19 a.m. The door chimed. Martha Jensen walked in wearing her powder blue cardigan, a floral scarf tied gently at her neck, and that classic grandma vibe of I brought tissues and hard candy just in case. She spotted Keanu and waved like they were already old friends. He stood up, helped her with her coat, and gestured to the waiting tea. I remembered your order, he said. She smiled, pleased. Well, aren't you a good boy? Don't tell the internet, he winked. They might expect this all the time. They settle in, the first sips. The first few minutes were quiet in that sacred kind of way. No rush, no awkwardness. Keanu stirred his tea like he was contemplating the universe. Martha added 1 sugar cube and 2 lemon slices, her ritual. Didn't speak immediately. They just sat. The kind of silence that feels like breathing with someone instead of talking. Finally, Martha broke it. I never thanked you properly. Keanu shook his head gently. You don't need to. Well, I want to, she said. Not just for the bank, for seeing me. For not looking past me like everyone else. He leaned in slightly, voice soft. You deserve to be seen, always. Martha's story, chapter by chapter. She didn't plan to share it all. But there's something about chamomile, raspberry scones, and being seen by someone who really listens that opens the floodgates. She told him about her childhood in Indiana. How she met Harold at a roller rink when she was 16 and he was 17, skating backwards and showing off until he fell straight into a popcorn machine. He proposed 6 years later, she said. Right on the 4th of July. Fireworks. Behind us. I think he planned that part. She spoke of the daughter they lost at birth, the grief that lived quietly between them for decades, and how they learned to hold hands tighter after every storm. I think I've been grieving him for 5 years, she whispered, and learning how to keep living every day since. Keanu's quiet empathy, his turn, he nodded as she spoke. Never rushed her, never looked away. Then he shared his own truths. Not all at once, but in the careful, gentle way someone gives you something breakable. I lost my daughter, too, he said. And her mother, years ago, it's like grief rents a room in you. Some days it's quiet. Some days it plays music too loud at 3 a.m. He told her about his sister's illness, the years he spent in hospitals and hotel rooms, the strange dissonance of making movies by day and holding hands in hospice by night. There's this weird myth that being famous makes life easier, he said. It doesn't. It just means more people watch when it breaks. A conversation unlike any other. Martha, you're nothing like I expected, you know? Keanu, good or bad? Martha, better. Calmer, like a Sunday morning in slippers. Keanu, that's a first. They laughed, really laughed. The kind that rolls out from your belly and erases tension from your bones. They talked about books. Martha adored Agatha Christie. Keanu loved philosophy and poetry. I reread Marcus Aurelius when I can't sleep, he said. Guy knew what was up 2,000 years ago. I read Nancy Drew when I can't sleep, she countered. Girl knew how to find a clue. They both nodded like they'd just solved the mysteries of the human condition in 2 paragraphs or less. A little philosophy from a little old lady. You know, Martha said, stirring her empty cup. Life is mostly people ignoring each other until something explodes. But sometimes someone holds the door open metaphorically. I mean, and then you remember, we're all just trying to make it to lunch in one piece. Keanu chuckled. You should write that down? Nah, she said. I'd rather live. It caught, but in a good way. Unbeknownst to them, a cafe patron had snapped a photo of the two of them laughing across their tea mugs. She didn't post it right away. She stared at it for a while first, unsure. In the end, she captioned it with, "This wasn't staged. This was 2 people connecting. And I hope I age like her." Hashtag the Martha effect. The photo went viral within hours. Scone delivery, the best part before they parted. Keanu got up and asked the barista to box up 5 raspberry scones. For later, he said. In case you want to remember this. Morning and crumbs, Martha beamed. You really are the nicest man alive, aren't you? He leaned in like he was telling a secret. Only on Tuesdays. And only before lunch. Scene opens, a time-lapse montage across the globe. Narrator. It started as a whisper, a conversation over tea. A photo snapped in a moment of joy. But whispers have a way of becoming echoes, and echoes can become an anthem. Portland, Oregon. A 6th grade class is sitting in a circle. Each child holds a card with the name of an elderly neighbor. They're making care packages, little bundles with tea, crosswords, hand-drawn cards. Their teacher, Ms. Han, got the idea from the Martha Effect hashtag, Melbourne, Australia. A cafe introduces a Martha special, tea and a raspberry scone, free for anyone over 70 on Wednesdays. A sign near the register reads, inspired by a woman who reminded us that dignity is timeless. Tokyo, Japan. A subway station now includes a quiet assistance booth staffed by trained volunteers to help elderly passengers. A sign overhead has 2 faces drawn in chalk. An old woman smiling and a man in sunglasses. It reads, Kindness travels far. Chicago, Illinois. A group of college students start Project Sunday Sky, named after Martha's pale blue dress, offering free tech assistance for seniors at local libraries every weekend. The hashtag becomes a movement. The Martha Effect isn't just trending anymore. It's transforming. Thousands of people are sharing moments. Real ones. No filters, no cloud chasing. A young woman braiding her grandmother's hair and saying, "This is our moment." A guy teaching his granddad how to use a smartphone. The granddad comments on the video, "Now I can send cat memes to your mother." Another woman tweets, "I used to ignore old folks at the grocery store. Now I talk to them." Thank you, Martha. And thank you, Keanu. Media coverage turns reflective. The headlines evolve. Instead of Keanu saves grandma at bank, they now read, "The rise of the kindness culture. Can one moment change the world?" Why the Martha effect feels like a soul reset we needed. Compassion goes viral. A movement for dignity. A New Yorker article dives deep, calling it the Golden Reawakening. An op-ed in The Guardian describes it as an act of celebrity not wielded like a sword, but like a candle. And everyone else lit theirs from it. Back in LA, Martha becomes a local legend. Martha's apartment complex now has visitors. Not paparazzi. Not reporters. Neighbors. Kids. People she's lived beside for years but barely spoke to. One little girl, maybe 7 years old, knocks on her door holding a plate of cookies. "My mom says you're a hero. I think you're just really pretty." Martha blushes for the first time in decades. Scene. The bank responds meaningfully, not just with apologies. Wilshire First Federal rethinks its systems. But not just because it wanted to, finally. They launched the Yenzen program. Dedicated senior customer service lanes. Elder-friendly training for all staff. Optional home visits for verification issues. A press event is held. In front of the same branch. The same manager, Alan Dorsey, stands in front of cameras and says, "This isn't a PR stunt. This is a reckoning. Because we failed to treat someone like a human being. And now, we're building a better way." The last line gets quoted everywhere. Even Martha's eyes go wide when she sees it. Keanu in action, behind the two mind them. Scenes, meanwhile, Keanu's not just sipping tea and watching the news. He's working, quietly. He makes some calls. Pulls some strings. He's not interested in capitalizing on the moment, but in building something with it. And so, he launches a nonprofit, Harold's Light, named after Martha's late husband. The mission? To honor our elders by building bridges, not just ramps. Services include free digital literacy classes for seniors, mobile healthcare check-ins for low income, elderly story-sharing booths where seniors can record their life memories and pass them on. Keanu funds the seed money himself. Then, others join in. Support pours in, a celebrity ripple. It starts with a trickle. Tom Hanks tweets, "Keanu's doing something beautiful. Count me in." Dolly Parton records a video message to Martha. "Sugar, I hope when I'm your age, I've got half your grace and all your sass." Oprah says, "This is what legacy looks like. Not just who you are, but what you awaken in others." Suddenly, Harold's Light is no longer just a quiet foundation. It's a movement. Martha at a school, guest of honor. A local elementary school invites her to speak at their Kindness Day. Martha walks in, holding her purse tight, nervous but smiling. The kids cheer like she's Taylor Swift with a book of crossword puzzles. She gives a small speech, humble and sweet. "Kindness isn't complicated," she says. "It's just noticing someone before the world tells you they don't matter." The principal whispers afterward, "You just changed 50 little hearts forever." Talk show time, but on her terms. Eventually, Martha agrees to one interview. She appears on The Late Show, but only because Keanu will be there with her. She sits in a big red armchair, legs crossed at the ankle, holding her tea. Stephen Colbert asks, "Did you ever expect any of this?" Martha chuckles. "Honey, I'm 82. I expected bunions and bingo. This is something else." Keanu turns to her with a grin. "You're not something else. You're the main thing." Scene opens, a handwriting montage. We open on a long shot of handwritten letters, not emails, not tweets, letters. Each one is opened gently. Read aloud in voiceover. Voice 1. A man. "Dear Martha, I cried watching you. Not because I felt sorry, but because I saw my mother in you. She passed last year. I ignored her calls too often. Thank you for reminding me what she meant. Voice 2, a teenage girl. My grandpa fought in the war and never said much. But after seeing your story, I sat down and asked him about his life. We talked for 2 hours. He smiled more in one day than in the last 5 years. Voice 3, a woman from India. Your story crossed oceans. My father now watches the video every morning with his tea. He says you have a warrior's face. And finally, Martha's own voice, reading her letter to Harold. Dearest, I don't think I ever told you this, but when you stood up to the landlord in '78, it made me fall in love with you all over again. Keanu did the same thing in a way, and now the world is listening. Can you believe that? US, a couple of nobodies. Now we're part of something huge. Scene, City Hall. Unexpected change from the top. We cut to Los Angeles City Hall. There's an official meeting, not the boring kind. The kind where the air crackles with something real is happening. On the table, a new proposal. Called the Martha Bill. A city council member named Rosario Blake presents it. We're not just naming a day after her. We're creating a policy change. A citywide initiative to prioritize dignity, accessibility, and human connection for our senior citizens, in banks, in hospitals, in city offices, in every place we forgot they matter. The bill passes, unanimously. Scene, Global Impact, the Martha Network. Meanwhile, Harold's Light, Keanu's nonprofit, is booming. But not in a corporate way. In a grassroots, soul-first, no red tape kind of way, across the globe, the Martha Network begins forming. Volunteer hubs. University partnerships. Entire retirement centers redesigned not for containment, but for celebration. Everywhere the program launches, 3 core pillars appear. Empathy training, from high schoolers to healthcare workers. Legacy projects. Seniors are partnered with young volunteers to record their life stories for future generations. Digital bridge sessions, tech tools with human hands. No more just click here. It's let me show you until it clicks. Scene, college campus, one student's change. We follow a 19-year-old named Malik. He's a freshman. Formerly cynical, obsessed with going viral. Then he saw the Martha video. Something cracked open. Now he spends Saturdays at a local community center helping elderly residents write their memoirs. One woman, Eloise, tells him, "You don't know what this means to me. I thought my story would die with me." Malik records. Her, tears in his eyes. Not anymore. Scene, a bookstore and a book no one saw coming. At a quiet indie bookstore in Silver Lake. A new book hits the shelves. Title, Chamomile and Courage, by Martha Jensen. It's not a memoir. It's a letter to the world. Stories, lessons, reflections. The final chapter is titled, When the World Slowed Down to Listen. It becomes a quiet bestseller. Not because it's hyped, but because people read it, then give it to someone. They love. Inside the dust jacket is a dedication. For Harold, for Keanu, for the overlooked, we are not forgotten. We are just waiting to be remembered. Scene, Keanu in a classroom. Yes, really. Keanu walks into a high school in Pasadena. No cameras. No team. Just him. He's been invited by a 15-year-old girl named Tasha who emailed Harold's Light saying, "My school teaches us how to take tests, not how to treat people. Can you come teach us that?" He does. They sit in a circle. He doesn't give a speech. He asks questions. Who here's ever felt invisible? Every hand rises. Who here wants to make someone else feel seen? Every hand rises again. The class ends with hugs. He leaves without fanfare. Scene, Oprah special. The Martha moment. A 1-hour special airs titled The Martha Moment. Oprah, seated with Martha and Keanu, guides the conversation like a symphony. Martha jokes, "I'm still not sure how this all happened. I just wanted to pay my bills." Keanu says, "And you ended up paying forward a whole lot more." The program ends with Oprah looking into the camera. This wasn't a PR miracle. This was the magic of basic decency, multiplied. A man stood up. A woman stood strong. And the world remembered how to feel again. Scene: candlelight vigil, light for the forgotten. On the anniversary of the bank incident, cities around the world hold quiet vigils. Thousands hold candles. There are no chants. No signs. Just photos of grandparents, handwritten. Notes of love and one phrase on everyone's lips: "I see you." In LA, Martha attends. So does Keanu. They stand side by side, looking out over a crowd of quiet, flickering lights. She whispers to him, "We started something, didn't we?" He smiles. "No, you started it. I just made sure the world didn't miss it." Scene opens, a garden in bloom, early morning light. We open on Martha Jensen's backyard. It's not big, but it's alive. Daisies bloom like tiny suns along the fence. Lavender stands tall. A modest tomato plant leans against a wire, trellis like it's sunbathing. Wind chimes whisper with each passing breeze. Martha sits in a weathered rocking chair, holding a copy of her book, Chamomile and Courage, on the table next to her. A fresh pot of tea, a framed photo of Harold, and a familiar white box. Scones. Martha's voice, reflective, strong, and still wonderfully herself. They keep calling it a miracle. This whole thing, as if kindness needed a headline. To be real. But you know what? This wasn't magic. It was a reminder that we're all just people, every one of us hoping someone will look up long enough to see us. She sips her tea and smiles, and once in a while, someone does. Scene: Martha at a high school auditorium, surprise guest speaker. It's a sunny Thursday. Students shuffle into the auditorium expecting a lecture on tax responsibility. They get Martha Jensen instead. She's announced simply as a woman with something worth hearing. She walks slowly, cane in hand, but with the quiet power of someone who's seen life and lived to tell it. She doesn't have a speech. Just a story. I'm not famous. I wasn't born into wealth. I'm just someone who kept showing up. Until someone finally noticed. What happened to me wasn't special, but what came after was. Because people started remembering how to be human. Silence. Not boredom, reverence. Scene: Keanu at a bookstore. The reunion, back in LA. Chamomile and Courage is being featured at a small bookstore event. It's intimate. Chairs are mismatched. The microphone occasionally pops. It's perfect. Keanu arrives early. He sits in the back. No fanfare. Just him in his hoodie, hands tucked into his sleeves. Eyes scanning the pages of the book again. When Martha walks in, the room stands. Not because they're told to, but because they want to. She spots Keanu, grins, and waves a little. They hug like old friends. Because that's exactly what they are. Scene: the final conversation, live on stage. Moderator: you've both been at the center of something massive. What's the most important thing you've learned? Keanu leans back and thinks. Then, that the loudest voices aren't always the truest. And that sometimes the smallest act becomes the loudest echo. Martha smiles. That nobody is ever truly invisible. Just waiting to be seen. Narrator voice, final monologue gentle and profound. There was never a plan. Just a woman with a letter. A man in line. And a moment that reminded us all what we were meant to be for each other. Not saviors, not followers, just witnesses. Of each other's value. Martha's story didn't go viral because she shouted. It did because someone finally listened. And in that listening, the world remembered the simplest truth of all, that kindness is not the exception. It is the standard we forgot. Scene: a quiet celebration 1 year later. 1 year has passed. In Martha's neighborhood, the city unveils a small bronze bench in the local park. Inscription reads, "To those who wait patiently in line, may someone always stand beside you." In honor of Martha Jensen, children run past. A young man helps an elderly woman with her groceries. Somewhere nearby, wind chimes dance again. The world hasn't changed overnight, but it has changed. Closing letters, final montage of impact. Letters from readers, fans, and strangers flash across the screen. Thank you, Martha. You made me visit my grandma after 5 years. Keanu, you reminded me to slow down and show up. To whoever filmed that video, thank you for not looking away. I started saying hello again. Just hello, and it matters. Final image, a photo for the ages. A new photo is taken. Keanu, Martha, a small group of students, a few volunteers from Harold's Light, and some elders from the community center all gathered around a picnic table. Laughing. No microphones. No press. Just people. Connected. Together. Final narrator voice, gentle fade out. This wasn't a story about a bank, or a celebrity, or even a moment of injustice made right. It was about how, in a noisy world, one moment of care can change everything. And that the most heroic thing you can do is notice. Martha Jensen reminded the world to see again, and we will never unsee what she gave us. Music swells. A string quartet plays a gentle, hopeful melody. Fade to black. Words appear. In honor of everyone who feels unseen, we see you. You matter. You always have. The end.